You finished praying again tonight by apologizing for the prayer. You said amen and then quietly said sorry, the way you always do. When you open your Bible, you brace yourself for the verse that finally condemns you. You read it like a man waiting for a doctor to confirm the bad news. Somewhere along the way, you decided that God is gentle with the broken, just never with you. You believe He delights in the people up on stage every Sunday morning. You do not believe He delights in the one faking the worship from the third row. And you have never once believed He was glad to see the exact person who reached for the old sin again last night. So you keep your distance, and you call the distance respect. You lower your eyes around Him the way you would around a boss who is tired of you. You speak to Him carefully, like someone who knows He is already on thin ice. Here is the thing nobody ever told you about the God you are actually praying to. The God you apologize to all night long does not exist. You built Him out of your worst fears and your strictest teachers. You have been on your knees before a God of your own dread, and the real one thinks something about you that would undo you if you let it land. It is not what your guilt assumes. It is not what your worst Sunday told you. So stay here while we take down every lie you were handed, one at a time. Because one of these is the exact lie you whispered to yourself before you clicked on this. He is not disappointed in you. There is a flinch that happens a half second before you pray. It is the bracing, the apology that arrives before you have even made the request. You picture God hearing your voice and exhaling the way a parent does at a kid who keeps failing. You have built a God who sighs at you, and you have worshipped that sigh for years. This is not the harsh God your atheist friend rejected and walked away from. This is the one you privately kneel in front of every single night. You assume He is tolerating you, putting up with you, managing His own irritation at you. You read His silence as disappointment and His patience as Him barely holding on. You hear conviction and assume it is contempt, when it has always been a father reaching. You have spent your whole faith bracing for a frown that was never on His face. God did not send His own Son walking toward a grave just to tolerate you. He bled to keep you, and the empty tomb is exactly what that keeping cost Him. A disappointed God does not die for the one disappointing Him. A disappointed God keeps His distance. He does not empty a tomb to close the gap. The sigh you have been worshiping was never coming from heaven. It was coming from you. What He actually feels when your name comes up is closer to gladness than you can currently believe. He is not enduring you. He is delighting in the very one you assumed He was barely tolerating. He is not keeping a record. You are lying awake again, replaying a failure from years ago that still makes you wince. Nobody else remembers it, and you have memorized it. You believe there is a ledger somewhere with your name across the top. You read your own life like a prosecutor reads evidence, building the case against yourself. This is not the legalist you criticize in the comments under other videos. This is you, scared to fully come back in case he pulls out the file. Do not skip past this one because part of you thinks it is too good to be meant for you. You keep paying for things that were already paid for, like a man mailing checks on a settled debt. You flinch at your own past while heaven has already filed it under finished. You have been quietly serving a sentence that was already carried in full by someone else. The record that stood against you was nailed to the cross and left inside the tomb He walked out of. The case against you is not pending. It is closed and the courtroom is empty. The judge stepped down from the bench and took the sentence in your place. He is not waiting to bring it up the moment you get comfortable. He is not holding the old failure behind His back to use against you later. The God you are afraid will remember is the same God who chose to forget on purpose. His love for you does not rise and fall. There is the good week, when your devotions click and you feel close to God. Then there is the bad week, when you assume He quietly stepped back from you. You treat His love like a thermostat that your own behavior keeps adjusting. A clean stretch turns it up, and a bad night turns it down. Before you say this one is about shallow Christians, notice what you just did. You measured the love of God by how your own week happened to go. You have made His affection a wage, and you clock in terrified you will not earn it. You wake up every morning auditioning for a love that was already signed over to you. You have been trying to earn something that was decided about you before you took a single breath. A love you could earn would be a love you could also lose on your worst day. But a love proven from an open grave does not move an inch when you do. The cross was not God reacting to a good week of yours. It was not a reward you triggered by finally getting your devotions right. It was God deciding about you while you were still at your absolute worst. He did not wait for a good version of you to show up before he committed. His love is not weather, it is bedrock, and it was poured before you ever showed up. He is not waiting for you to clean up first. You keep making the same promise, that you will come back to God once you finally have it together. You will pray seriously after you beat the habit, not during it. You believe you have to fix yourself before you are allowed to walk back toward him. So, you wait in the wreckage, treating distance as the respectful thing to do. This is not the addict you assume needs to get sober before he is welcome at church. This is you, postponing grace until some future version of you finally deserves it. Stay inside this even while everything in you wants to argue it away. You have kept yourself out in the far country out of a politeness God never once asked for. You think you are sparing him the mess, and you are only prolonging the famine. You are starving in a field while a feast sits waiting with your name on the chair. The father in the story ran toward his son while the boy still stank of pigs. He ran while it was still mess, before a single thing had been cleaned up. And the risen Christ still meets people in the exact spot the sin left them lying. He is not at the finish line of your self-improvement. He is in the ditch with you now. He did not stand at a clean distance and wait for you to crawl the rest of the way. You do not clean up to come to him. You come to him to be cleaned. The order you got backwards is the very thing keeping you in the dirt. He does not see you the way you see yourself. There is a word you call yourself in your own head when nobody is listening. You would never say it out loud, and you say it to yourself constantly. You have signed your name to a verdict on your own life. You decided you were a failure, or worthless, or too far gone to matter. This is not the self-hatred you would gently correct in a friend over coffee. This is the one you feed yourself every single night and call honesty. You have trusted your own cruelest thought about yourself over what your maker actually said. You believe the accuser in your head, and you doubt the one who made you. You take the word of your darkest hour as if it knows you better than God does. He looked at a world that wanted him dead and counted you worth dying for anyway. The empty tomb is his verdict on your worth, and it is still standing this morning. The voice calling you worthless is not telling you the truth, it is telling you the lie he died to kill. You have let the prosecution write the verdict and never once called the only witness who was there at your making. You have been agreeing with the wrong witness about your own soul. The God who formed you is not impressed by the cruelty you aim at his own work. He does not agree with the trial you have been running against your own soul. He does not nod along when you call his creation worthless. He calls it bought. He is not ashamed to be associated with you. There is a version of you from Friday night that your church friends have never met. You keep it hidden, certain it would change how they see you. You assume God feels about you exactly what you feel about your worst day. You imagine him keeping a careful distance so his reputation stays intact. You picture him hoping the room does not notice the two of you are together. This is not the hypocrite you suspect God is secretly embarrassed by. This is you, convinced he would quietly distance himself from you if he ever could. You have spent years believing the King of Heaven would honestly rather not be seen with you. The risen Christ turned to the men who had just deserted him and called them his brothers. He walked out of the grave and kept the scars instead of hiding them. Those scars are not something he covers up. They are the marks that name you as his. The next one is the truth you have fought the hardest to disbelieve. He is not ashamed of you. He went out of his way to claim you in front of everyone. He did not whisper your name in private. He carried it openly through death itself. The one with every reason to walk away put his name on you instead. He stood among the ones who failed him and refused to be embarrassed by them. He has not changed his mind about you. There is a quiet fear that one more failure is the one that finally ends it. You live like there is a number, and you are slowly counting down to it. You treat his commitment to you like it is one mistake away from expiring. You read every stumble as another step toward the day he finally gives up. This is not the doubter you would reassure with a gentle verse on a hard day. This is you, secretly counting down your own welcome like a man watching a clock. You have been waiting for a God of covenant to break a promise he has never once broken. You expect the one who keeps his word to suddenly become the one who takes it back. You brace for an abandonment that the cross already made impossible. His mind about you is not a mood that the weather of your life can change. It is not an opinion he is quietly revising every time you fall again. Death itself could not reverse what he had already decided about you. A man walking out of his own grave is the proof that the decision holds. If a sealed tomb could not undo it, your Tuesday is not going to undo it either. The worst thing that has ever happened could not cancel his commitment to you. He has not changed his mind, because he never makes a promise he intends to break. So look back at every lie you came in believing tonight. You carried them in like luggage, and you were never meant to leave with them. You thought he was disappointed in you, and he proved it from an empty grave. You thought he was keeping a record, and he proved it from an empty grave. You thought his love rose and fell with you, and he proved it from an empty grave. You thought he was waiting for you to clean up first, and he proved it from an empty grave. You thought he saw you the way you see yourself, and he proved it from an empty grave. You thought he was ashamed of you, and he proved it from an empty grave. You thought he had changed his mind, and he proved it from an empty grave. Every lie you ever believed about how God sees you was buried in the tomb that Christ walked out of. What he actually thinks about you is not a feeling he might change tomorrow. It is a fact he dated in history, signed in blood, and sealed by walking out of death. The opinion you have been terrified of was never his. It was only ever yours. You can finally put down the God you invented and meet the one who was always glad to see you. So tell me in the comments which lie had its grip on you the hardest, because saying it out loud is where it starts to break. If this said something nobody ever told you, subscribe to Woke Faith so the next truth reaches you before the lie does. He has been trying to tell you this since before you ever learned to be afraid of him. The God who walked out of that grave is not done telling you the truth about yourself.